Hello and welcome to today's installment of the Daf Yomi, Arakhin 14. Two Shvat Shemeich to everybody, and let's dive straight in. So, I'm going to go from the paragraph that ended the last Daf. The Gemara answers, and even if you say that the mission is according to the opinion of Rabbi Meir, it can be claimed that the same is true, i.e. that even if one took a vow of valuation to donate at the fixed value of a Gentile, he also paid the fixed amount. But by not mentioning Gentiles, the mission teaches us another matter in passing. In accordance with the statement of Rabbi Yehuda says that Rav says, as Rabbi Yehuda says that Rav says, it's prohibited for a person to say, how beautiful is this Gentile. Arsala Adam and Sheyoma, it's prohibited for a person to say. It is prohibited to praise Gentiles, even praise their beauty, and certainly laud their actions. This is derived from the verse, nor show them any mercy, lo tehonim, Deuteronomy 7:2, which is interpreted to mean that they should not be viewed with grace, chen. See Avodah Zarah 28. Viewing Gentiles favorably leads one to become attracted to them and to learn from their wicked deeds. This ruling is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, citing Rav. If one's intention to praise God who created such a beautiful form, it's permitted. And that's from the Rambam Sefer Mata, Yochad Avodah Zarah 10:4, Shulchan Aruch Yodeh 151:14. The Gemara asks, but is this the only reason that the Gentile is not mentioned? Then the Mishnah teach, in a case of one who took a vow of valuation to donate the fixed value of the most attractive among the Jewish people and the most unsightly among the Gentiles, he gives a fixed plenty of 50 seller to the temple treasury. The Gemara answers that Tana prefers to deal with one nation, i.e. Jews, as not wish to deal with two nations, Jews and Gentiles. The Gemara challenges this answer. And does the Mishnah not deal with two nations, but isn't taught in the Mishnah in 14b, one who raped or seduced a young woman, whether she is the most prominent in the priesthood or the lowliest among the Israelites, gives the payment of 50 seller, the finest state in the Torah. Priests and Israelites are two distinct groups of people and analogous to Jews and Gentiles. The Gemara answers, in that Mishnah there is one nation, as although there are two groups, they are both part of the Jewish people. It is only that the priests have greater sanctity than Israelites. If you wish, say instead that since the Mishnah wants to teach the case of an ancestral field in the latter case, which you find in the case of Jews, when you do not find with regard to Gentiles, as they are unfit to have ancestral land in Eretz Yisrael, it is due to this reason that the Mishnah teaches only cases that involve the Jewish people. The Mishnah. The halacha with regard to an ancestral field that are lenient and others that are stringent. How so? Both one who consecrates an ancestral field in the low quality sands of the areas surrounding the city. Cholas hamachotz. The word machotz appears in Aramaic translation and possibly in the text of the Bible itself in the sense of a beach. See Targum Onkelos on Genesis 49:13. Assuming this usage here, the Gemara is speaking of the sand on the beach. Alternatively, it is referring to a city on the coast called Mahoz, whose existence is attested by the name of the sage Abba Yossi of Mahoz, although there are two known port towns with similar names. Based on the Tosefta, it seems that the Mishnah is referring to the town known as Mahaz near Ashdod, rather than town of Mahoz, which is located south of modern Rishon LeZion. Rashi explains that Cholat means surrounding Mahoz, means an unimportant city. In contrast to Sebastia, which was a highly important city at the time of the sages, Rashi further suggests that Mahoz is the name of a city. Some suggest that Mahoz means border or boundary of a city, and that's in Rabbeinu Gershom or Hagolah. See Rashi on 1 Kings 7:4. In other words, this is referring to a field that is close to a city that yields little produce, but if the people walk through it, and due to the evil eye, see Bava Basra 22a, others maintain it is referring to a specific sandy area, Arakhin Daf. And one who consecrates the high-quality orchards of Sebastia gives a redemption payment of 50 silver shekels for every area that he consecrated that is fit for sowing a core of barley. If one consecrates an ancestral field whether it is the best field in Eretz Yisrael or the worst, and he was to redeem it, he must give the valuation set in the Torah 50 silver shekels for an area required for sowing of a core of barley seed for all the years of the Jubilee. One stellar coin and a pundion for each remaining year until the Jubilee. The Jubilee year itself is not included in the number. That's in the Rambam Sefer Flora Hilchot Arakhin Daf 4:2. Leviticus 27:16. And with regard to a purchase field, if one consecrates a field he purchased and wishes to redeem it, its value is based on how many years are left until the Jubilee year, and anyone may redeem it. The redemption money is used for the temple maintenance, like all valuations and assessments of consecrations. That's the Rambam Sefer Flora Hilchot Arakhin Daf 4:26. And one consecrates, he gives its value as redemption, as some that can be more or less than 50 silver shekels for every area required for sowing one core of barley. Rabbi Eliezer says, with regard to both a purchase field and an ancestral field, one gives a redemption payment of 50 silver shekels for every area required for sowing a core of barley that he consecrated. What then is the difference between an ancestral field and a purchase field? One who wishes to redeem his ancestral field must add an extra fifth to the value. His fifth is calculated with respect to the sum of the principal and the additional amount, a quarter of its principal. Similarly, if his wife or any of his heirs redeem it, they must add 1/5. One who consecrates a field he purchased does not add 1/5 when he redeems it. This ruling is according to the statement of Rabbi Eliezer, as even the rabbis concede him according to the conclusion of the Gemara on the following onward. Rambam Sefer Flora Hilchot Arakhin 4:5-26. Another difference is that the ancestral field is not redeemed by another, returns to the original owner in the Jubilee year. Conversely, a purchased field that is not redeemed becomes the property of the priest. That's from Tosfot 13b. The difference is that in the case of an ancestral field, one gives an additional payment of 1/5, but in the case of a purchased field, it is not given an additional payment of 1/5. Arakhin says, in a case where one consecrated a field of trees, the Rambam rules that if one's field is full of trees and he consecrates without further specification, he's also consecrated the trees, as one who consecrates does so generously. When he redeems consecration, he calculates the value of the trees and the land separately. This is in accordance with the opinion of Arakhin. The Rabbi disagrees and writes that trees are redeemed as part of the field, not by themselves, in accordance with the statement of Rav Papa on the following onward. The Rabbi holds that the halach in accordance with his opinion because he was a later sage. And that's from the Rambam Sefer Flora Hilchot Arakhin 4:15. When he redeems the trees in the fields, he redeems the trees according to their value, and then redeems the land according to their fixed formula, by which an area required for sowing a core of barley seed is redeemed for 50 silver shekels. Gemara notes, and evidently Rav Huna holds that when a person consecrates, he consecrates generously. In this case, he consecrates the trees and land separately, so that he would have to redeem them each separately, rather than the trees being redeemed as part of the land. Rav Naaman raised an objection to Rav Huna from the Mishnah. Both one who consecrates an ancestral field in the low quality sands of the area surrounding the city, and one who consecrates a high quality orchard of Sebastia, and there's a little map here of Sebastia, which is in the Samaria region above Shechem. The city was built on the ruins of ancient Samaria in the time of Herod. He named it after Augustus Caesar, who was known by the Greeks by the honorific title Sebastus, from the adjective Sebastos, meaning majestic or venerable. Josephus describes beautiful buildings, and the ruins can still be seen adjacent to the modern village of Sebaste, approximately 8 kilometers northwest of Shechem. Gives a redemption payment of 50 silver shekels for every area required for sowing a quart of barley that he consecrated. This indicates that when one consecrates orchards, he does not redeem the land and the trees separately. Rav Huna said to Rav Naaman, the Mishnah is speaking of land that is suitable for orchards, but does not actually have trees planted on it. Rav Naaman raised another objection to Rav Huna from a Baita. When discussing a consecrated ancestral field, the Torah states an area fit for sowing. This is 27:16. I have derived only an area fit for sowing. But where do I derive that the same is true for fields of vines and the field of reeds and field of trees? Verse states, and if a man shall consecrate to the Lord part of his field of his possession, then your valuation shall be according to an area fit for sowing. The sowing of a homer of barley shall be valued and 50 silver shekels, Leviticus 27:16. The word field teaches that this halacha applies in any case, regardless of the type of field. It can be inferred from here that if one consecrates an orchard, the redemption of the trees is not valued separately from the land. Rav Huna said to Rav Naaman, the truth of the Bible means that he first redeems the trees and afterwards redeems the field, according to the formula of the Torah. And Naaman again raised an objection to Rav Huna from the Bible. If one consecrated 3 trees, Hikdish, Shalosha, Ilanus, if one had 3 trees situated within an area required for sowing 1 seah of seed, Beit seah, and he consecrated them without specifying that he was only consecrating the trees, he is considered to have also consecrated any other small trees and the land between those 3 trees. If the trees were planted more sparsely in an area larger than a Beit seah, if he consecrated the trees one by one, he has not consecrated the land or the small trees in between. This is contrary to the ruling of the Braita, as the Rambam's text of the Gemara differed from the standard version. Furthermore, the Rambam does not say that the land is redeemed according to the calculation of 50 silver shekels for an area required for sowing of a core of barley seed, or the Rambam rules in accordance with the opinion of Rav Huna, who maintains that this manner of valuation applies only according to Rabbi Shimon. The Rambam says Hilchas Arakhin Daf 4:17, see the Mishnah there. In a field where 10 trees are planted in an area required for sowing 1 seah of seed, Beit seah. According to the standard calculation in the Talmud, a Beit seah is a tract of land 50 by 50 cubits, i.e. between 580 and 900 square kilometers, depending on the various opinions regard to the length of a cubit. In any case, it is certainly a large area of land. He has consecrated them not only those trees, but also the land and the young trees between them. According to Rashi, this refers to the young trees among them. Others explain that the reference is to barren trees, Tosfot and Bava Batra 72a. Therefore, if this is his ancestral field when he redeems it, he redeems the land and everything contained within it according to the standard rate established by the Torah, where an area required for the sowing of a core of barley seed is redeemed for 50 silver shekels. But if the ratio of land to trees was less than that, i.e., the trees were planted more densely, or the ratio of land of trees was more than that, i.e. the trees were planted less densely, or we consecrated each of the trees separately, one after the other, this person has consecrated neither the land nor the young trees between them. Therefore, when he redeems the trees in accordance with their worth. And moreover, even if one consecrated his trees when they are planted more densely or less densely, or one after the other, and then afterward he consecrated the land, if one consecrated trees in his field and afterwards consecrated the field, he redeemed the trees according to their value and the land in accordance with its size. And that's the Rambam Sefer Flower, with the Arakhin 4:18, and the Rambam see the Mishnah there. So that at this point, everything belongs to the temple treasury when he redeems them. He redeems the trees separately in accordance with their worth, and he redeems and afterward he redeems the land according to the standard rate, when area required for the sowing of a homer, a core of barley seed is redeemed for 50 silver shekels. The Gemara explains the objection. And if you would say that here too, in the first part of the Braita, it means that he redeems the field and afterwards redeems the trees, well, the fact that the latter clause of the Braita states that he redeemed and afterwards he redeemed, inference the first clause is not referring to a case where he redeems the field and afterwards redeems the trees. Rather, in accordance with whose opinion is this Braita, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, who says that when one consecrates, he consecrates sparingly. As the Torah in the Braita, one who consecrates the field has consecrated all of it. Rabbi Shimon says he has consecrated a grafted carob tree and a sycamore stump. In contrast to carob trees that grow wild in nature, which are generally small and produce poor fruit, cultivated carob trees are tall and grow fine carobs. On the other hand, wild carobs are stronger than cultivated ones. Therefore, to this day, carobs are grown from the seeds of wild carob trees, with the branches of cultivated carob trees grafted onto them. A carob grown from such a graft retains the strength of the initial planting, it grows branches and fruit like cultivated carobs. These carob trees are considered superior to carobs that have not been grafted, i.e. the wild variety of carob trees. Sadan has sycamore. The sycamore tree, Ficus sycamorus, is closely related to the fig tree. Although the fruit of the sycamore fig mulberries can be eaten if necessary. The tree mainly serves as a source for long, sturdy beams of wood. The sycamores were widespread heavy soil in antiquity. The wood of the sycamore is light, porous, and relatively immune to rot. Sycamores were left to grow and develop branches, at which point the so-called virgin or untrimmed sycamore was chopped down for the first time. Its stump would subsequently grow more branches. When these were fully grown, the tree, now a large sycamore, would be chopped down once again. And there's a picture of an old sycamore here with the holy sycamore in Ramat Gan. The reason that they derive their nourishment from the consecrated field. Well, back to 71b, according to the Rashbam and most of the commentators there, he has certainly consecrated other less valuable trees, excluding only items that do not grow from the ground, a wine press that is in the field. According to Arakhin Daf here, Rabbi Shimon holds that only these trees which derive more nutrients from the field are consecrated. In any case, according to the conclusion of the power discussion in 72b, Rabbi Shimon himself holds that since one consecrates sparingly, he did not intend to consecrate even the grafted carob tree and the large sycamore tree. And Rabbi Shimon says that they are consecrated. He was speaking only according to the opinion of the rabbis. In other words, according to the rabbis, even in point of consecrating so generously, only these trees should be consecrated as they derive their nourishment from the consecrated field. But other items such as the wine press should not be consecrated. The Gemara raises the difficulty of a brayta is according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon and say the latter clause. And moreover, if one consecrates his trees and then afterwards he consecrates the land, when he redeems them, he redeems the trees separately according with their worth. And afterwards he redeems the land according to the standard rate when an area required for the sowing of a home of barley seed is redeemed for 50 silver shekels. If the brayta is according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, let one follow the stages of the tree at the time of its redemption, and let the tree be redeemed along with the land. As at the time of its redemption, both the trees and land are consecrated. As we have heard, that Rabbi Shimon follows the time of redemption, i.e. he determines the price at which the field is redeemed based on the time that it is being redeemed. As it's taught in the brayta, from where it is derived with regard to one who purchases a field from his father and consecrates it. If one purchases a field from his father, or if anyone else from whom he inherits, then consecrated it, whether he did so after the death of his father, or whether he was still alive and died subsequently, it is considered like his ancestral field. Consequently, it is not redeemed for its market value, but according to the calculation of 50 silver shekels, each area required for sowing a core of barley seed. So Arakhin is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon from Brayta Rambam. They from Flower Arakhin 428. And after his father died, which means that the field would now be his inheritance. From where is it derived that it should be considered before him as such a field, and the field he purchased with respect to its redemption. The verse states, with regard to a field that he purchased, and if he sanctifies it to the Lord, a field that he has bought, which is not of his ancestral field. Of Leviticus 27:22, the verse speaks specifically of a field that is not fit at the time of its consecration to be an ancestral field, that one could never have inherited in the future. This specification excludes this field that was fit to be an ancestral field from this halacha, since eventually it would have become his through inheritance, even had he not purchased it. This is a statement of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. The brayta continues. Rabbi Meir learns a different halacha from this verse and says, from where is it derived that in a case where one who purchases a field from his father and his father dies, and only afterward he consecrates the field, from where is it derived that it should be considered before him like an ancestral field? The verse states with regard to a purchased field, and if he sanctified to the Lord a field that he has bought, which is not of his ancestral field, Leviticus 27:22, the verse is referring specifically to a field that is not his ancestral field at the time of his consecration. This requirement excludes his field, as currently after the death of his father, it is an ancestral field. The Gemara analyzes the brayta. That is the opinion of Rabbi Meir, whereas according to Rabbi Yehuda and according to Rabbi Shimon, it is considered as such a field even if he consecrated the field and afterwards his father died. What is the reason for this opinion? If you suggest that it is due to the verse, that cannot be, as the verse comes to teach halacha that was stated according to the opinion of Rabbi Meir, and referring to a case where the father died before he consecrated the field, as Rabbi Meir explained. Rather, it is not due to the fact that he follows the stage of the field at the time of the redemption. Since the father died before the son redeemed the field, and its ancestral field in the possession of the temple treasury. Similarly, if one first consecrates the trees and after the field, he should redeem them both together, and at the time of the redemption they are both consecrated. Since this ruling is not in the context of the Braita that states that trees and field are redeemed separately, then the Braita cannot be in the context of the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. From Naaman by Yitzchak said that this source does not contradict Rav Huda's claim that the Braita is in the context of the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. The reason that Rabbi Huda and Rabbi Shimon do not, in fact, maintain that one follows the state of the field at the time of the redemption, rather they found a verse and expounded it. The Rav Naaman by Yitzchak explained Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon's reasoning. If so, that when one consecrates the field and the father died afterwards, it is not considered ancestral field. Then the merciful one write in the Torah, and if he sanctifies to the Lord a field that he has bought, which is not his ancestral, i.e. the verse could have omitted the repetition of the phrase of his field. What does the Torah mean by stressing of his field? This teaches that only a field that is not fit to be ancestral field at the time he consecrated should be redeemed for its value. But if he consecrated a field that he would inherit in the future, it is redeemed in the manner of an ancestral field. Rav Papa says, if one consecrated field that are rocky, Turashin, Hictis Turashin, if one consecrated field that is suitable for planting called Turashin, and he seeks to redeem it, he redeems it according to its value. Even if he received it as an inheritance, is not valued in the manner of an ancestral field. And that's Navam and Sefer Fla Hilchot Arakhin Daf 4:16. Turashin referred to exceptionally hard ground which cannot be used for planting or working. The sages use this expression when referring to rocky ground, as the earth between the rocks is also hard and cannot be used for farming. And unsuitable for planting, he redeems them by their value, not as ancestral field. The Gemara asks, what is the reason? The Medrash states that one redeems an area for sowing of a homer of barley needs 57 shekels, 27:16, and these fields are not fit for sowing. But if he did not redeem these fields, if one consecrates a barren field, and the Jubilee year arrives without his redeeming it, the field goes to the priest. This ruling is in contrary to the opinion of Rav Papa. 4:25. Before the Jubilee, they go to the priest in the Jubilee year like ancestral fields. What is the reason? The Medrash states, and if he will not redeem the field, or if he has sold the field to another man, it shall not be redeemed anymore. But the field, when it goes out in the Jubilee, shall be holy unto the Lord. As a field devoted, it shall belong to the priest. This is 20:21. This indicates that any kind of ancestral field at all, regardless of quality, goes to the priest if it is not redeemed by the Jubilee year. Furthermore, Rav Papa says, if one's soul fields that are rocky, if one sells a ravine filled with water or a rocky field that cannot be planted, and he wants to redeem them for the purchaser, he may redeem them even within 2 years of the sale. If he does not redeem them, the land returns to the owner in the Jubilee year, despite the fact that it is suitable for planting. This is not in the contrary opinion of Papa, and Sefer Zerayim Hilchot Shemitah V'Yovel 11:13. Unsuitable for planting, they may redeem from the purchaser even less than 2 years, despite the fact that normally land must be left in the hands of the purchaser for these 2 years. See 29b, as derived from the plural term years of the crops. So what is the reason? The most one states, according to the number of years after Jubilee, you shall buy from your neighbour, and according to the number of years of the crops, he shall sell it to you. In Leviticus 25:15, and these rocky fields are not fit for crops. But if he did not redeem them for the purchaser, they return to the owner of the Jubilee year like ancestral field. What is the reason? The most one states, then let him count the years of his sale and restore the extra to the man to whom he sold it, and it shall return to his ancestral heritage. Leviticus 25:27. And this rocky field is also part of his ancestral heritage. But Papa further says, if one consecrates trees alone, they are redeemed for their value. This is according to the opinion of Papa and from the Rambam Sefer Fla Hilchot Arakhin 4:16. It says he redeemed them according to their value. What is the reason? The Medrash states that one redeems an area fit for sowing of a homer. Homer, a dry measure of volume. The biblical homer is equivalent to the rabbinic core, which is 30 seah. A field required for sowing a seah is defined as an area of 50 by 50 cubits or 2,500 square cubits. Consequently, a field required for sowing a core is 75,000 square cubits, approximately 17,280 square meters. They do not go to the priesthood in the Jubilee like an ancestral field. The reason that the Muslim states, but the field, when it goes out in the Jubilee year, shall be holy to the Lord, and the field devoted, it shall belong to the priest in Leviticus 27:21. There's two referring specifically to a field and not trees. Rav Papa also says, if one sold trees, if one sells trees, he may redeem them only after 2 years, as they yield produce like a field. If he does not redeem them before the Jubilee year, they do not return to him in the Jubilee year, in accordance with the opinion of Rav Papa. Ramon says the Raim Herachashmit V'Yova 11:14. So feel they may not be redeemed from the purchase if less than 2 years pass. Watery, the Mitzvah states, according to the number of years after the Jubilee year, you shall buy it from your neighbor, and according to the number of years of the crops, he shall sell it to you in Leviticus 25:15. And these trees are fit for crops as they produce fruit. And if he did not redeem them from the purchase, so the reason the trees do not return to the owner of the Jubilee year, what is the reason? The Mitzvah states that then let him count the years of its sale and restore the extra to the man to whom he sold it, and it shall return to its ancestral heritage. Leviticus 25:27. This includes only land in favor and not trees which have a limited lifespan. The Gemara asks, the master Rav Papa says that if one consecrated trees in his ancestral field, he redeems them according to their value. The Gemara asks, why is that so? But let them be consecrated on account of the land, and let them be redeemed on account of the land, according to the valuation of 50 silver shekels for each area required for the sowing a core of barley seed. And if you would say that he consecrated the trees and did not consecrate land, but didn't the sage of Nahadia say, if one sells a date palm to another, the purchaser acquires it from the bottom of the palm until the depth of the earth, including its land? The Gemara answers, wasn't it stated with regard to this ruling that it is referring only to a case that comes due a specific claim that he purchased the land under the date palm? But if he does not claim to have explicitly purchased the land, the seller or the one who consecrates does not intend to include land with the date palm. The Mishnah teaches, with regard to a purchase field that one consecrates, he gives its value as redemption, the sum that can be more or less than 50 silver shekels for an area required for the sowing of a core of barley seed. The sages taught in a bright to the verse states, then the priest shall reckon for him the worth of your valuation until the Jubilee year. He shall give your valuation that day as a holy thing to the Lord. Leviticus 27:23. What does the word worth come to teach? Since it states with regard to ancestral field, an area fit for the sowing of a homer of barley seed redeemed for 50 silver shekels. Leviticus 27:16. One might have thought that a purchased field is also redeemed using this formula. Therefore, the verse states worth, which means the market value of the field. Rabbi Eliezer says, it is stated here with regard to purchased field, then the priest shall reckon for him with the worth of your valuation until the Jubilee year, and give valuation that day as a holy thing to the Lord. Leviticus 27:20, as stated there with regard to ancestral field. But if he sanctified the field after the Jubilee, then the priest shall reckon for him the money according to the years that remain until the Jubilee, and it shall be deducted from your valuation. Leviticus 27:18, just as there. In the case of ancestral field, it is referring to a fixed amount, so to here, with regard to a purchased field, it means a fixed amount. The lamb was raised before the students. Do the rabbis who disagree with Rabbi Eliezer accept one derives the verbal analogy of shall reckon, but they use it to derive that one who redeemed the consecrated field must also add 1/5, or perhaps they do not accept the verbal analogy at all, and that they do not hold that one who redeemed the purchased field must add 1/5. Rava said it is reasonable to assume that the rabbis do not accept the verbal analogy. The reasoning is as follows. From the fact that the merciful one revealed in the Torah that one must add 1/5 in the case of one who redeemed an ancestral field and in the case of one who consecrates his house, these are two verses that come as one, i.e. to teach the same matter. And any two verses that come as one do not teach the common aspect. Shein kasuru habayin echad shein malamdin. Halacha written in one case can serve as a general model for many other instances in the absence of a restriction limiting the halacha to that case. This is a hermeneutical technique called an analogy, binyan av. And if the same halacha appears in two different contexts, it's sometimes that the Torah did not intend the second case to be derived from the first, and therefore it is clearly not a general halacha, but one that applies only in particular circumstances. The comment answer, but in this case, adding 1/5 applied to other cases. Therefore, it can be assumed that the Rabbi maintains that one who redeems the purchase field does not have to pay an additional fifth. Rabbi continues, and according to the one who says that the two verses that come as one do teach the common aspect from the fact that the mercy one revealed in Torah that one must add 1/5 when he redeems his second tithe, and when he redeems his kosher animal that he consecrated and became blemished. Redeemed his non-kosher animal that he consecrated. There are many verses that come at once, and everyone agrees that multiple verses do not teach the common aspects in other cases. It is taught in the Bible in the concept of the ruling of Rava, but not for his reason. It is taught in the Bible that then the priest shall reckon for him the worth of evaluation till the Jubilee year, and he shall give evaluation that day as a holy thing to the Lord. 27-23. The verse juxtaposes this estimation to fixed valuations. Just with regard to fixed valuations, one does not add 1/5. So too, when redeeming a purchase field, one does not add 1/5. One who redeems his purchase field which he consecrated does not add an extra fifth. That's in Rambam Sefer Arakhin 426. Mishnah. There are halacha with regard to a forewarned ox that killed a Canaanite slave that are lenient, and others that are stringent. How so? Both in the case of an ox that killed the most attractive among the slaves. The foreign ox kills a Canaanite slave, the owner pays a fine, fixed by the Torah at 30 selah to the owner of the slave. All Canaanite slaves are equal in this matter, regardless of whether they are adults or children, male or female, and whether the slave is worth 100 shekels or a single dinar. And that's from the Rambam Sefer Hilchot. This came Commandment 11:1, whose value is great. And likewise, in the case of one that killed the most unsightly among slaves, whose value is minimal, his owner gives payment of 30 selah, and the fine is stated in the Torah in Exodus 21:32, and the slave. If the ox killed a free man, if a forewarned ox kills a Jew, and the owner pays a ransom, which is the value of the deceased, as it says by the Commandment Sefer in the Commandment 11:1, his owner gives his price as payment to his heirs. This sum can be more or less than 50 shekels. If the ox injured this slave or that freeman, he gives payment of the full cost of the damage as compensation. If a foreign ox injured a Jew or Canaanite slave, the owner paid the full value of the damage. Rambam Sefer Nezikin Hilchot, this came Commandment 7:3, Mishpat 451. As the Mishnah first specifies that it's speaking of foreign ox, this indicates that with regard to a foreign ox that injured a freeman, yes, one is liable for full payment. With regard to a non-good ox that injured a freeman, one does not make full restitution but pays only half the value of the victim. The Gemara asks, let us say that the Mishnah is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, as we learned in the Mishnah Bava Kama 33a. The Rabbi Akiva says the owner of an innocuous ox that injured a person, if an innocuous ox injures a Jew or Canaanite slave, the owner pays half the damage, provided that it is no more than the total value of the ox that caused the damage. This halacha is in accordance with the opinion of the first Tana. It is agreed with Rabbi Akiva in the Mishnah in Bava Kama 33a. Rambam Sefer Nezikin Hilchot, this came Commandment 7:3, Mishpat 451. Also pays the full cost of the damage with regard to the difference between the damage inflicted on the ox and the damage the ox inflicted on the person. Evidently, Rabbi Akiva does not distinguish between an innocuous and foreign ox in the case where an ox injured a person. The Gemara answers, you may even say that the Mishnah is according to the opinion of Rabbi Akiva and explain it as follows. The same is true even the owner of a noxious ox must make full restitution. But since Tana wants to teach in the third part of the clause of the Mishnah, an ox that killed a slave and an ox that killed a freeman, which you find in the case of a foreign ox, but in the case of an ox that you do not find it, the penalty for killing a person does not apply to an innocuous ox, and it is for this reason the Mishnah teaches only in the case of a foreign ox. In the Mishnah, the halacha with regard to a rapist and with regard to a seducer that are lenient, and others are stringent. How so? Both one who raped or seduced a young woman who is the most prominent in the priesthood. A rapist and seducer pay an equal fine regardless of the standing of the victim. It makes no difference whether the victim is the daughter of the high priest or the daughter of a convert or she is a mamzeret. In all cases, the fine is 50 shekels. He must pay the sums for humiliation, degradation, pain, and here each case is evaluated individually. Sefer Noshim, Hilchot Na'ara Betula 2:3, and one who raped or seduced a young woman who is the lowliest among the Israelites gives the payment for the seller. The fine states in Torah Deuteronomy 22:29, and the payment for humiliating degradation resulting from being raped or seduced is assessed differentially, all based on the one who humiliates and the one who's humiliated. If a repulsive person humiliates another, it causes great humiliation if he were distinguished. And if the victim is distinguished, her humiliation is greater when she is greater than if she were not distinguished. And that's from Rabbi Evali Habatano. The Gemara Ketubot 48 teaches that the court calculated compensation for degradation in the following manner. And it values the victim as though she were a slave being sold in the marketplace. How much could she have been sold as a virgin, and how much can she be sold in the current state? The payment is the difference between the two. They maintain that compensation for degradation is also dependent on the standing of the rapist and the victim. The value of one who raped by a repulsive person declines more, and the value of a beautiful woman declines less. To Pharisee Yisrael, Rabbeinu Yonah writes that the compensation for degradation is a fixed amount depending on the estimated market by Shittim Chubeset. Gemara. The Gemara asks, why must a rapist or seducer also pay for humiliation degradation? One can say the Mitzvah states in the verse, then the man that lay with her shall give to the young woman's father 50 shekels of silver, Deuteronomy 22:29, that he is to pay a total of 50 seller for all matters associated with the act, either fine, degradation, humiliation, pain. Rabbi Zera says it cannot be that he pays a total of only 50 seller. As people will say, does it make sense that one who engaged in a forced intercourse with a daughter of kings pays a sum of 50 seller when she suffers great humiliation, and one who engaged in forced intercourse with the daughter of ordinary people, Yotad, also pays 50 seller. Hedyot, an ordinary person, from the Greek idiotos, meaning a simple citizen with no official office or one with no marketable skill. It was applied by extension to an uncultivated ignoramus, and the sage occasionally uses this word in this manner. More frequently, this term serves to distinguish between one who holds a special office and an average individual. For instance, a Kohen Gadol high priest contrasted with Kohen Hedyot, an ordinary priest. Rabbi says to Rava, if so, some claim the same claim can be applied with regard to a slave killed by an ox. People will also say, does it make sense that a slave who pierces pearls, magalit, from the Greek magoris with the second R, phenome, meaning an L. The Greek word means pearl, while a similar term means precious stone. The sage used magalit for both meanings. Since pearls were usually made into necklaces, they had to be pierced. This was a very specialized form of craftsmanship which required expertise. The artisan had to choose the ideal place to pierce the pearl, and then fashion the hole completely straight so as not to mar the beauty of the pearl. Such a craftsman was well paid, and a slave who could perform this task would have been considered highly valuable. It is worth 30 seller, and the slave who performed needlecraft is also worth 30 seller. Nevertheless, the Mishnah clearly indicated no distinction between the two slaves, and the Torah states a fixed payment. Rather, Rabbi Zera says that there's a different proof, and then that will go on to the next onward. Wish you a very good day, and peace in all Israel, and take care. Bye.